environmental disaster presentation, I'm going to be talking about the Tubbs fires, which happened in October 2017. And at the time that it happened, it was considered the most destructive wildfire in California state history. So, where did it happen? Everyone wants to know. So, it happened in Sonoma County to Napa County. Both were the greatest affected counties due to these fires. The Tubbs fire took place in Northern California's Wine County, which they are known as. Fun little fact, the regions are known for their wine, which are produced and made with local grapes in the area. Sonoma is twice the size of Napa, given its population, which is more than Napa's. So yeah. Now let's talk about the climate and ecosystem. The climate in these regions have a Mediterranean climate, which is really nice because that means summers are warm and dry, but the winters are mild and wet. Sonoma has more of a coastal influence, making it cooler with fog, diverse microclimates, and varied terrain. Napa is more inland, generally hotter and drier, especially on the valley floor, which is ideal for heat-loving grapes, though higher altitudes get cooler and even get snow. The counties are built up of a number of ecosystems, some including oak woodlands, wetland and marshes, grasslands, coastal habitats, and redwood forests. So, the little bit of history behind Sonoma and Napa. Sonoma has a very diverse population and is known for its sustainable agriculture because, again, wine is produced and made there, sells from there, everything like that. Where Napa has an influence by Italian immigrants who are known for the advocacy of the Rhine wine region, especially in the Prohibition of the 1900s. Another fun little fact to go with is that historically Sonoma and Napa counties share roots in Native American land, Spanish missions, Mexican ranchos, and so forth, which then makes it go into world-renowned wine regions after become part of the U.S. So, let's get into the cause of the fire and then so forth. So, the fire started near Tubbs Lane in the rural northern part of Calistoga in Napa County. It was not caused by PG&E equipment, which was a concluded fact by Cal Fire after they did a thorough investigation to what happened, what caused it, and everything like that. The system was adjacent to a residential structure on Bennett Lane in Calistoga. The fire ignited on a hot, windy night, which by strong Diablo winds that fueled its rapid spread, which we'll see of how far spread, how quickly, in the number of days, just its cause and effect. So what exactly happened? Let's get us to the start, okay? The Tubbs fire began on the night of October 2017 near Tubbs Lane in Calistoga, Napa County. It then burned for 23 days and was fully contained by Halloween. So how did it spread? How did it go through and everything like that? It was pushed through by intense Diablo winds. The fire moved very quickly southwest from its ignition point and then just went full on into rural areas before entering into Santa Rosa. In its path, the fire devastated the Fountain Grove region and caused catastrophic damages in the Kofi Park neighborhood after jumping Highway 101, which is very scary, very quick. Just, it was instant. So in total, the Tubbs fire burned about 36,000 acres as it carved a destruction path from northeastern slopes of Napa Valley into the heart of Sonoma County. So what was the response and what was the cleanup like? Firefighters from across California, police, and medical staff responded immediately. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, FEMA, CalRecycle, and state local crews led a large-scale cleanup. Hazardous materials were removed first, followed by ash, burned structures, and debris. So, when the fire started, mass evacuations in Santa Rosa, Calistoga, and surrounding communities happened, where Shelters were open for those who were displaced, had nowhere else to go, had no family to go to, and everything like that. Red Cross and other relief groups provided food, water, clothing, and medical support to those. About over 2 million debris were cleared, one of the largest operations in state history. Homeowners went through a lot of complications with insurance claims and even just getting rebuilding permits. Some neighborhoods rebuilt quickly, while others were not as lucky and faced a lot of delays and challenges. Because of this fire, it gave the counties, and the regions how to prepare better for next time if this were to occur, such as wildfire preparedness, early warning systems, and rebuilding standards to reduce future fire risk. So, how does this go into with environmental concepts like climate change, carbon dioxide, so forth? So wildfires, such as the Taos one as a great example, are deeply intertwined with numerous environmental concepts. However, most notably, they are linked with climate change. As the earth heats up, wildfires become more common, which you can see with other wildfires that have happened after this one. Such as the wildfires happened in 2020, how that just, as climate change gets worse, wildfires become more constant and normal. They're actually part of a climate change feedback loop. Climate change fuels wildfires, like I said, and then just makes climate change even worse, largely due to releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So, what was the damage report? What was the conclusions that were made from this? So, the Taos fire caused massive damage across Sonoma and Napa counties, destroying a lot and plenty of structures and burning acres of land. Thousands of people were displaced because of this. The dangerous impacts included extreme air pollution, toxic debris, hazardous ash, and soil erosion. It heavily impacted oak woodlands, grasslands, habitats, and urban green spaces, leading to a loss of wildlife and vegetation, as well as impacting wildlife and many animal species. Which, again, you have to understand, ecosystems are very important no matter what. Once one is affected, if multiple affected, it's very hard to come back from it. It's very difficult. It can just cause a lot of issues because our ecosystems are important, especially just the life and vegetation that exists around it. So, because of these fires, 22 people were killed, 5,600 buildings were destroyed, about almost 37,000 acres were burnt, and hundreds were injured. So, what were the impacts of the Tubbs fire? Most of the impacts of Taos fire were short-lived, but others had more longer-term impacts. So those short-term effects, just to name a few: destruction of homes, schools, and businesses, immediate health concerns from smoke and toxins, mass evacuation and widespread displacement, community-wide power outages, infrastructure damage, where the long-term effects were slow and costly rebuilding processes, emotional and psychological trauma for survivors, long-term ecological changes in burned areas, increased flood and erosion risks during rains, strengthened wildfire preparedness, and stricter building standards. So what can we learn from the Tubbs fire, which is the most important thing? First and foremost, like we have mentioned, it prepared both counties how to be prepared for if another wildfire such as the Tubbs one were to happen, or even a worse one, So the Tubbs fire taught Sonoma and Napa County several major lessons about disaster preparedness and response, like I said. So, such as clear recovery plan, greater self-sufficiency, stronger shelter capabilities. The counties improved on evacuation by what supplies they need to have, what to stock on, the staffing that needs to be immediate if a fire were to happen again, such as just a large staffing, and creating a unified data system to streamline survivor assistance. They also strengthened communication and early detection system by installing AI-equipped fire cameras and setting up rapid coordination process so responders can immediately share information and track fires in real time. So, further risk, that is the question. Not only are wildfires hard to predict, but they are also hard to prevent. So, like we mentioned earlier, climate change is increasing, so that means wildfires are more likely to happen again. But precautions can be taken, of course. So the precautions that can be taken and to further avoid deadly fires is making sure land is moist and wet, can help prevent, or which can prevent soil from overheating. Clear unnecessary debris from ecosystems, ban campfires, barbecues, fireworks, and other flammables. Cut fire breaks in large forests to help contain an imminent fire, and so forth, as you can see. So, those are some ways to avoid them, to prevent them, or just so very little of it can happen. So that concludes everything about the Tubbs fire, its history, what happened, cause and effect, the damages who were affected, just the effects that it's gonna have um on the people who live in the counties. So I hope you enjoyed. That is my presentation. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed and got to know a very important historical moment that happened and was very, very impactful. So thank you.